What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's doing good today. If it sounds like I'm talking slow or stuttering or whatever, I do apologize. It's an issue that I deal with, you know, most days. So if I sound like I'm talking slow or stuttering or whatever, I apologize. But, anyways, I wanted to kind of address something that was brought up, you know, uh, last night. So, about 2 or 3 days ago, I made a video talking about the mass shooting that happened in Buffalo and how, people need to quit bringing up politics and all sorts of stupid BS before, you know, taking time to think about those who were hurt or killed in the mass shooting. And, a lot of you guys have heard that there were 10 people killed and about 3 or 4 others injured. And it was a tragic event. I'll say that right now. And I am still praying for all the families and friends of the people that are going through that tragedy. It's a messed up situation. But, anyways, so I had this comment that was made on that video last night, because this one dude, he said, well, you probably never lost a loved one in a major tragedy like that, so how would you know? And I told him, well, how should I say this? At first, I didn't really think anything of the comment. I just figured, whatever. You say what you want to say, and I'll stick to my opinion. But about an hour or so later, after I read that comment, I had something occur to me. And this is something, and it made the news big time. It was talked about on the news for a couple weeks or so, and every now and then the news still talks about it, at least the local news stations around here. And there's reasoning for that, and I'm about to talk about it. So, this tragedy that I'm talking about, as of a few days ago, it's been about 5 years since this tragedy happened. And the tragedy I'm talking about is the Times Square tragedy, where this guy decided to drive onto a sidewalk. He hit a bunch of people, injuring all sorts of people and killing one person. And that one person that was killed was somebody that I went to school with. The name of the person that was killed, her name was Alyssa Elsman. And her little sister was with her when it happened, and she was one of the people that got injured when that guy drove his car onto the sidewalk. The name of the psychopath that drove his car onto the sidewalk was named Richard Rojas. Now, for those who don't know, I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory on Richard Rojas and, what he did prior to this major tragedy. While I don't remember everything exactly about what was on Richard Rojas's background, but, what I do know is, he did join the military prior, and I believe he left the military, and because of that, he had PTSD. And there was quite a few times between him leaving the military and him causing the Times Square tragedy that he's been arrested. I believe he robbed a woman with a knife or something. I don't remember. And then I believe he had his car impounded there for a little while or so, and then had just got his car back. And then as of the time he committed the tragedy, he was high off of some drugs or something like that. I believe they said that he was on PCP or something like that. And then there was a few other things that he was on as well. So yeah, he was on some drugs when he committed the tragedy there in Times Square, New York. And that's when he injured a bunch of people and killed Alyssa Ellsman, and also injured her sister, which I'll talk about her sister here in a little bit. But first, we're gonna talk about Alyssa Ellsman now. So, like I said, she went. We went to school with each other. The school we went to was Portage Central High School, which was in Portage, Michigan. Right next to Kalamazoo, and she graduated a year or so before I graduated. She graduated in 2016. I graduated in 2017. And, the day that the tragedy happened, I was on a camping trip with this school group that I was a part of for most of my high school years. I guess the day it happened, they said it on the school announcements, which I wasn't there to hear it because, certain hours during school, I went and did this one thing. It was part of the school program. It was something that helped me with some things, and, it was something I was off of school campus for. But while I was gone, they announced it, and I didn't realize it. I remembered hearing, during lunchtime that, there was a major tragedy that happened in New York, and I didn't really think anything of it. I just said, wow, that's messed up. I'm sorry to hear about that. And that was about an hour or two after that tragedy happened. It said on the news article that there was one person killed and, several others injured. And, I figured, okay, well, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear about that. That's messed up. So, not really thinking anything of it, I just kind of went on upon my day, and about 45 minutes or so after I read that, I went off of school property to go to that school work program that I was just telling you guys about. And then later on, I would go on that camping trip with a school group that I went to. And like I said, while I was at that work program, that's when they announced it, and I didn't hear it because, like I said, I wasn't at the school. I was off of school campus for about a couple hours or so, and then I came back, and usually around time I came back to school, they would I would only have 30 minutes of school time left. So I just hung out in like a room with some people and talked to them. And I noticed some people walking by, and they looked like they were upset about something, and I figured, I wonder what's up with them. And then I get home from school, and I get on Facebook, and I see some people talking about how, they're devastated on what they heard. And, one person mentioned something about the tragedy that happened in New York, and I figured, well, that's really weird. Okay, what's going on, and then about a couple hours later, as I was getting ready to head on the camping trip, I looked at my phone real quick to kind of see if I can get any more information on what was going on. I didn't see anything else that got posted. And then, so I figured, okay, well, whatever. I guess I'll just keep my eyes open. About a couple hours later, I had, one of my cousins texted me, and he didn't go to the same school I did. It was one of my cousins that lived north of Kalamazoo, kind of in the Plainwell, Otsego area. But he sends me a text saying, so did you hear about that tragedy in New York by chance? And I said, yeah, what about it? And he was like, well, I guess one of the people, I forget her name at the top of my head, and this is what he said. I didn't say this. That's what he said. But he said, the person that was killed was somebody that lived in the West Michigan area, possibly Kalamazoo Portage area. And I said, huh. Okay then. Well, that's weird, but okay. Then, time goes by and, I hang out with the school group, at the camping trip, because, like I said, it was a camping trip for a school group that I was a part of, which the school group was called Moose Project. It was a really good group. I had lots of good memories being a part of that group, and let me tell you, I miss those times. I really do. But yeah, I was a part of that school group and we were on a camping trip. But anywho, so, time goes by and I'm just hanging out with some of my buddies there and, we're having a great time. And, I started getting some more text messages in and, I kind of ignored the text at first, because I didn't want to keep looking at my phone. And then, everybody, we sit by a campfire for a little bit and, have a good talk or so and joke around. And then, I started getting tired and I said, all right, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired. I'm going to go ahead and head to bed. And, the campsite we were staying at, they had this cabin area. One of them was boys only. The other one was girls only. And so, we were separated, but, yeah, I was one of the first people, besides one of the teachers, to lay down. And, I pull out my phone and look and, I kind of forgot to check the messages at first. And, I look on Facebook and what's the first thing I see on Facebook? A news article talking about the person that was killed in New York. I looked at the picture, didn't look at the name at first, but I looked at the picture and I said, that face looks so familiar. Who is that? And I clicked on the article and I read it and it said the name of the person. And, I was speechless at that point. Like, I had no idea what to say. Part of me wanted to say something, but at the same time, I just didn't know what to say because, like I said, at that point, I was on a camping trip and, I just kind of, I was stunned at that point. Didn't know what to think or what to say. And, the teacher that was in the log cabin with us, he looks at me, he's like, Mike, are you okay, dude? And I said, yeah, I'll be right back. I walked in the bathroom and just kind of thought to myself, I said, did this really happen? Well, this can't be true. Like, how is this even possible, And then, I decided to check the text messages and, it was my friends telling me that, the name of the person that was killed in that tragedy was Alyssa Elsman. And I just, and I texted them back and I said, so you guys, did you guys hear about this then? Because I had no idea they even announced this while I was gone. And they're like, you didn't see people upset or anything, or you didn't hear this? And I said, I told them, like I said, I was gone and I didn't hear anything of it. And got on the phone with one of my other friends and said, so, did you hear about the tragedy then? And he's like, Yep, I heard about it earlier while I was at school, and I just, I was speechless at that point. So I walked back out of the bathroom, and my teacher walks right by me and stops, and he's like, "Are you okay, dude?" And I said, "So did you hear about this tragedy?" And he said, "Yeah, I did. Did you just hear about it?" And I said, "Yeah. I saw a news article about it, and then I looked at some text messages, and at that point I started thinking about some of the Facebook posts I saw where people were upset and couldn't believe what they heard, and I just, hang on a sec. Sorry, I'm trying to, talk about this without losing it, but, I told the teacher I was with that I'm at a loss of words, I don't know what to think. So that night, I had a hard time going to sleep, and just thinking all about the situation, because, I had so many thoughts running through my head. And my thought was, why her? Why Alyssa? I didn't want that to happen to anybody there, you know, because regardless, that would have been tragic. But, the thing I kept asking myself was, why did it have to be Alyssa? You know, then the next morning, we all got up, had breakfast, and, I was super tired. And at the same time, I was kind of upset about what had happened, what I heard the night prior. And, had some people talk to me and say, hey, you good? I didn't really talk a whole lot that day. And then, I told myself, I said, you know what? I'm really not feeling it with this trip. I just, you know, I'm ready to call it, I really wasn't ready to go home, but, it really doesn't help much that we were about to get some rainy weather anyway. So I told some of my teachers and some of my friends that, it's just not worth it. I feel like I can't be here right now. I don't really know what to say. You know, and the teacher was like, I understand, So I called up my mom and my stepdad, asked them to come get me, and they showed up about 40 minutes later to come get me. So I get home, I started talking with some of my, other friends that weren't on the camping trip, and they were upset about this tragedy, and, tried to stay in touch with them as much as possible to kind of help them out, I will say this right now. Personally, I wasn't close to Alyssa. I didn't really know her way too well. I had a gym class with her, and she dated one of my good friends there for a while. And I don't know why they broke up, but I'm not really going to get into all that. But, my friend that dated her and some of his other friends were pretty upset about this tragedy. So I stayed in contact with them as much as I could, hoping and praying that, they were doing okay. And they were pretty tore up, but, they handled it the best they could. And, they talked, to a news person about her and how they felt and how they were feeling at that point. And, it was what was it? It was Wood TV 8 that interviewed them, and I want to say, thank you to them, and thank you to Fox 17 News and News Channel 3 for helping all of us get through this rough time. It was pretty tragic. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, how her sister was. So, her little sister, which her sister's name was, I believe, Ava Elsman or something like that. I don't remember at the top of my head. It was either Eva or Ava, but she was one of the people that got injured, and she had to go through a lot of medical treatment for, I don't remember how long, but she had a lot of issues that she had to go to the hospital for there for a while, and it took her a while to recover, but I mean, last I knew she was doing pretty good, but there for a while she was under a lot of pain, and had a lot of things going on, and at the same time she was suffering from a major loss because she just lost her older sister. So, to the family of Alyssa Elsman and her close friends, while yes, I was tore up about this tragedy, I will say this right now. If you guys still think about her, and wish she was still around, I'm terribly sorry that you guys lost her, and to some of my friends that were close to her as well, I'm terribly sorry you guys had to go through that. No parent should ever have to bury their kid, and nobody should ever have to die at such a young age, no matter what it is. Now, before I speak my opinion about something else, so to answer the question on what she was in New York City for, she was there, I believe, because her dad was living there, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, I don't know, but I believe her dad was staying in the New York area, and she was there visiting, and I don't remember if they said her mom was there or not as well. I don't know, but yeah, Alyssa and her sister Ava were there, and they were exploring, and they say about an hour or two before Alyssa was killed, she took a time loop video, of the Times Square area there in New York, because I mean, it's a cool area. It's a very crowded area, but it's a cool area, if you like New York anyways. But yeah, she took a time loop video an hour or so prior to her getting killed. Now, before I put this video to an end, and I'm sorry if you guys can't really see my face too well, but I want to put this out here right now. So, when that tragedy hit, there were so many people online, and then, there were other politicians as well that were sitting there bringing politics into this subject. And, it's not just with this tragedy that people were bringing politics up with, but, nowadays people do it with all sorts of tragedies, rather if it be somebody on the conservative side's fault or somebody on the liberal side's fault. Apparently, people have this thing where politics have always got to come first before praying for the victims or praying for the family and friends that just lost somebody in a major tragedy. But yeah, there were a lot of ignorant people out there that were bringing politics into this. And then, I wrote a comment on a video that a news station had posted on their YouTube channel. And so many people in the comments section were being dumb. You know, you had so many people that were saying things like, oh, this was a false flag or a staged hoax. You know, this tragedy didn't happen. You know, her family is just making her fake her death. What? Where the fuck do you get this shit? You know, I wrote, man, you know, I can't believe this happened. You know, I'm at a loss of words in the comments, and had this one person that replied and was like, I don't know what you're talking about. You didn't lose a loved one. This is a hoax. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're going to sit there and tell somebody that they have no idea what they're talking about when they freaking know the person? Like I said, I didn't know Alyssa Ellisman in person too much, but I knew some things about her, and she was friends with some of my friends and even dated one of my friends. While I didn't know her family, that doesn't fucking mean I don't know whether or not this was a hoax. It's not a hoax. None of my friends have talked to me since that tragedy saying things like, oh, well, actually, I was just talking to her the other day. She's fine. She's still alive, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't fucking work that way. To the people that like to sit there and act like a major tragedy is a hoax or a false flag or whatever the fuck you want to come up with, you're a complete idiot. I'm just saying. And, you know, I said that to some of the people that were making those retarded comments. And, you know, I had this one person that was like, oh, well, you're just a piece of shit liberal that likes to fall for the fake news, bullshit, blah, 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 blah. Okay, first off, I'm not a liberal. Read this hat. For those of you that can read it just fine. Hopefully it's not backwards in the comments. See that? Let's go, Brandon. See that right there? FJB. You know what that means? Fuck Joe Biden. Personally, my life does not evolve around politics. But I can assure you, I'm not a liberal. And I'm not going to get into the whole reason on why I don't like Joe Biden, you know, because that's not what I want to talk about in this subject. But first off, I'm not a liberal. And second, just because there are news stations out there like CNN or the Young Turks or other stations out there that like to make up lies, or they'll talk about something that actually happened, but then they'll add in some lies or whatever, that doesn't mean the tragedy itself was a hoax or false flag or a lie of some sort or whatever bullshit you come up with. You know, I hate to be the one that mentions politics in this subject, but, you know, when other people do it and they like to point fingers at people like me, or if I go and speak my opinion about something and they call me a personal piece of shit for it and assume I'm somebody I'm not because they don't fucking agree with me or they think I'm lying, that just makes me want to go and say something. And I'm sorry if you don't like what the fuck I'm saying, but just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not true. My word, I just don't understand people sometimes. I get it. It's the internet. You know, people are going to say stupid shit no matter what. And rather if it's true or not, people are going to come up with reasons to point fingers at, you know, other things or just do whatever they want, I guess. But the fact that people even do shit like that, that's messed up. or say things like that for the matter. That's weird. But yeah, back to that comment that I read last night. So that's kind of why I thought about that comment, is because I have lost somebody in a major tragedy before, and it's not fun. I'll tell you that right now. So anyways, that's really all I gotta say for this video. I'm sorry this video turned out to be a long video, and I'm sure I probably pissed a lot of people off for saying what I said in this video. But you know what? I don't care. That's not my problem. You got something you want to say to me? I'd like to hear you say something. If you do agree with what I'm saying, feel free to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Normally I post about politics on this channel, but like I said, I don't really talk about politics much anymore unless I absolutely have to for some reason. If you respect what I'm saying, but you disagree with what I'm saying and you feel like you need to say something, feel free to say something in the comment section. But anyways, that's all I gotta say. You know, be sure to hug your loved ones, man, because you never know when tragedies like this can happen. Rather if it be the tragedy like the one in Times Square, New York, or the tragedy that happened in Buffalo, New York, or just a bigger tragedy like the Las Vegas concert shooting, or 9/11, or, what's going on in Ukraine, It's a terrible situation, it really is. But y'all be safe, y'all make wise decisions.